Okay, Devils, here we go. All right, we're going to stick with the majors today. I think I'll cover Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, SUI. We'll take a peek maybe at Ripple and Cardano as well. Okay, so I'm going to start over here with Bitcoin. You know, I think right now, because this is so open to interpretation. If I just grab this move here, I've seen 12 different counts here. It's very much open to interpretation, right? This is where Elliott Wave, a lot of detractors make a point of saying, well, if it's open to interpretation, right? Well, what value does it offer? Well, that's for an Elliott Wave hater. There are times where it's unclear, and just as if you're applying Elliott Wave, eventually, right, we're going to get clarity on what this is, as it is right now. And often is the case that you're making an educated guesstimate as to what we have until it clarifies. Then we know what we have. Well, I think from my view here is from this low down here at 74.4 to our high at 126. I'm going to propose that it's not corrective, right? That while it could be a diag, right? It's more probably a motive wave. When we've looked at various counts here. Right? We can do it multiple ways. We can do it this way. We can do a diag. There's also this way here where we're finishing the diag with a series of ABCs. It can be done a couple of different ways, right? We're just not going to know until we get clarity. We're from this low to this high, right? I'm going to use the all-time high. We're in a correction. Now, if you've been trading Bitcoin for long enough here, a correction like this is it unpleasant? Sure, right? I mean, you look at your account balance, it's going down, right? So nobody likes that. But for the long-term Bitcoin, let's say investor here, hodler, what do you want to call it? That's fine. This is pretty typical. It's not, we're a long way from, in my opinion, we're a long way from calling this a bear market. We're in a correction. I see a lot of hand wringing and panic and crypto bear, right? Of course, the media loves to milk it for views, right? So crypto bear, well, okay, we take out 74, different story. Until then, we're just coming to the golden zone. I'm a little surprised at all the panic, although that's not necessarily a bad thing for a long-term investor. I'll say that word again. So if I just look at this here and I go from here and say, okay, here's the swing, here's the retrace, right? We get a little change of character here, which is a break of structure. We retrace. Technical, right? We come right into that high volume, then we're coming down to the golden zone. Now, we are literally a couple of ticks away from getting length of the proposed A from the B, A to B equals C to D. We're about to tap that as we tap the golden zone as we hit a high volume node and an order block over here. Now, if we blow right through that, okay, right, it's going to look a little bit more bearish. We're not there yet. Why are we assuming that's going to happen? That we've got imbalances below here. Potential liquidity. Well, every fair value gap does not mean that there are a bunch of orders sitting in there. There may be, but more importantly, where can size get in the market here and not disrupt price? Right. Well, they want to look for high volume nodes. Do we have one? We're approaching one. Do we have some fib relationship that might be meaningful to the algos? Well, there's two of them right there. Pattern recognition. Well, this is, again, because this is a little dicey in here and there's a few spots where there's some overlap here and the purist might bicker with this. But I as far as I'm concerned, I see a 3 here. Well, it's not as far as I'm concerned. It is a 3. Now, could it roll over and turn into a 5? Absolutely, right? Market's going to do what it's going to do. But as I look at this here, okay, I think we're far from panic mode. If anything, I'm kind of interested in getting long here. Now, where do we confirm that we have a low? Well, here I've just got it marked right here. Actually, software is doing it for me. Right, we take out this level here at 107, call it 4, come back up towards the POC. Okay, then we confirm we've got a low here on the daily. which is, of course, more significant. If we come up here and take that, okay, then you would be anticipating a move, something, ideally you're going to get some sort of a 5 to take you out of here, and then a 3 to correct it, and then we're a go. So it may be that, we're going towards the end of the year. A lot of people are anticipating the seasonal rally here, which is not, they anticipated because history has shown us that Bitcoin has a strong tendency to rally into the end of the year. There's you guys probably read the same kind of stuff that I do. There's this, there is some data to support the idea that long-term hodlers, people that are long from, $5, we're selling up around 110, 115. And the premise being that the reason they're selling up here in spot is because they're rolling into the ETFs, right? Where there are tax advantages to doing that, which would certainly make sense. If it's a whale and they're moving that kind of volume, that certainly makes sense. Now, do we know that's happening? Well, it's a reasonable estimate as to why we've suddenly gone bearish here after the macro backdrop remains so very bullish for crypto and Bitcoin in particular. So, okay, right. Would I like to see this, come down here and pop? Yeah, of course I would. So it's not there yet. We're, going into the Friday, into the weekend here. We're, looked a little bit better earlier here, but we haven't tapped the golden yet. We know an algo is going to fire there, right? Can they drive it out of there? Remains to be seen. Remember, for every algo that holds, there's one that fails. Right, so every time you see one, we're like, "Oh God, that's amazing." Well, remember there was one that failed, right? So you can almost see a sequence coming down here, right, as they like to do, right? So we're in the pocket. Okay, we've got first target, right? Second target is a little bit lower, but then they just do it again. Oh shit, get you out of there. See if I can get this guy out of here, and then we get another one here. So we get from this pivot to this pivot, right? So we come right to the 50. Now look where that target is, right? So this is how the algo likes to move, right? Swing, retrace, right? Come into the pocket, target. Swing, retrace, come into the target. Nothing I haven't shown 50, 60,000 times. So what's all the panic about? If anything, you should. Well, no. Let me rephrase. In my opinion, we're approaching what could be potentially an area to be very interested in getting long. Now, I'm not one who's a proponent of trading with leverage, particularly out here on a daily chart like this. I don't want to be levered out, or have some liquidity event and let BlackRock take my Bitcoin. Right? I'm just not, right? My suggestion would be, if you're interested here, there's no need to pick the turn. Even though I know everybody, the idea of, look, I nailed the turn. I can post it on Twitter. Look how great I am. Nobody gives a shit, right? So what do we care about, right? Being profitable. Okay, where's the opportunity? Well, right now you don't want to try and pick the falling knife, right? You don't want to try and catch that. We want to wait for some confirmation. And when in doubt, go out to the daily. Okay, what can I see here? Golden zone, high volume node, right? I've got a little low volume node here that the market potentially could move quickly to. So, but you could see we could come into the ledge here where there's going to be resistance. And what we're hoping for, right, for if you're a bull, is something along these lines here. Now, where's the buy opportunity? Well, if you want to be a little bit more conservative, it's right here, right? We want to let this happen, or if you want to be more conservative out on the daily, push this up a little bit higher. We want to do it this way. There's the trade, right? That's something we focus on in our belt system, right? If you want to pass that purple belt here, the only way to do it is we're going to force you to trade only 3s and Cs, right? To build that discipline. Now you could, right? If you get a 3 in here, you could trade the 3, assuming we get a motive wave here, you could trade the 3 in that, but only 3s and Cs, because those are your money waves, right? So that's money ball, right? So that's the discipline we're trying to develop within your mind. So you're not chasing every swing, every pivot, which, remember, no trade is a trading decision. That's the next trade, in my view, right? Out here on a longer term. Again, I'm just eyeballing here. That could be end of the year. The way I've got it here, it could be Christmas before we see that. Now, if we start to accelerate lower, and breaking some of this, okay, my tune's going to change, no doubt about it. But until then, all we're doing, you're getting an opportunity to be a buyer here, and the risk is getting reduced. Now, let's see what happens there. But I think we're far from panic, skies falling. We get a motive, we're correcting it. Well, that's with no counts. Right? So here's two ways you could be counting this. We've looked at this a couple of different ways, and here's one way you could count this up here to this pivot. It looks like, since it appears we're coming down here with a diag to finish it, that you'd likely be looking to go ABC into a W, ABC. This is so clearly, there's no workaround here. ABC into an X. So either it's ABC or it's WXY. Could be either one, right? So we're tapping this order block here above the golden zone. We just looked at all the fib relationships that are right here, so we know we have an area here of interest. Now, again, nothing says we can't fall through it. But again, I would not. This is, if you're a bull, this is, oh God, do you think they'll come back here to the golden zone from the low? Do you think we might get that fortunate? That's how I look at it. Let's look at another way to count this, right? This would be more bearish. It's still, right, you know, here's our range from 74 and change. Now, could it be A, right? So we're gonna get here a little bit differently here. Actually, you can get here. This is using, it's a little unusual. Here we could do it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, of course, Bitcoin's a bit notorious for very skinny twos, right? So there, you know, is that valid? Yes, right? Look, well, that 2 is a little troubling, but again, it's not like Bitcoin doesn't have a historical tendency to do that. Okay, so now we're coming down. We've got an impulse, we've got an A, we've got a B, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, what's the panic about? I don't get it. I really don't, right? Other than, you know, it's what the media wants you to think. I'll tell you who wants you to panic. ETFs, institutions, BlackRock, whales. You know, strong hands, MicroStrategy. They're panic all you want, right? You just unload. You can just offer us your Bitcoin if you'd like. We will happily take it. Is that what you want to do? I think not. So okay. So maybe we react here because you can see a count here. Now I'm on Femex. That's our sponsor. So it could be a 1 here, 3 into the 2. Here's a impulse. Now it's a little, you know, purists are going to bicker here, right? We've got this wick that, oh, if this is the one here, we've got this wick here that overcomes this. We go into the tap this fair value gap. Okay, right? I'm not such a purist that I wouldn't consider this a 3 wave. But you could do it as a diag. You could do the same thing as a diag. You could do ABC, ABC, AB. It almost doesn't matter, right? So the question is, if we're going to get 5 down here, if we look at it, this way. If this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and we're going to get some sort of a 4 and come down for the 5, again, what? Okay, so what's the reaction down there? Okay, well, let's see what happens down here, and then can I get out of here with a 5? Right? Maybe I get something tiny like this, right? And I can start here. And then we work up for our 3 here, right? That's going to be this is the one of the 3, right? I mean, again, you got to think long term with Bitcoin, right? In my view, right? That's what we teach, right? Swing trading. So we stay 60 minutes or higher up to the daily, weekly. That's where Elliott Wave shows its hand most clearly. Although right now, with what's going on, there are times when it's just not there, right? So don't force a count, which is why I started with no count. No count. Let's see what happens. It's not like without an Elliott count, we can't function. Here's the last break of structure because all of these pivots up here, almost, right? But we didn't get a close above. So we have a change of character, and then we've had a change of character down here. If you want to get your market structure hat on. Okay, we've come down to a fib zone. Right? It's things we just talked about. Okay, let's see what happens. Not time to panic, in my view. Right? It's just my opinion, right? I'm not panicking. I'm not doing anything, right? I'm just looking for the next opportunity to be a buyer. Let's go over to ETH here and take a look. Now this count has changed. We've gone so deep here. This is recalibrated here because we had been considering this as a candidate for a 3, and this being a 4. But the length of time now I think is too far. It's too wide to compare this as a 4 relative to this 2. So then dial back in some channeling, which we know is so important to good Elliott Wave here. And I can recreate this here. Okay, right. A little disappointing here that this wasn't a 3 because there was all sorts of potential, right? If that was going to be the 4 here and we we're going to go, all right, it doesn't happen. All right, we're taking a deeper retracement. So does it kill the count? Well, we break 1,300, different tune. Until then, okay, what could this be? ABC. This is hard to get a 3 in there, but I don't see an alternate here. So WXAB 1, 2, 3, 4. This is clean as an impulse coming down. We're going to double down here. Somewhat surprising. This was the key pivot here, but again, we were kind of holding for the idea that this was 1, 2, 3. This was going to be 4 as long as we didn't overlap the 1. It's just the time relationship is just too far off. So I go back to, okay, well, 1, 2. Where do they usually go? Where's the high probability zone for a wave 2? Where are we sitting? Again, why the panic? All right, if your account, going down X amount of dollars here on a daily basis has you panic, right? Maybe crypto is not the place for you, right? Because it happens on a regular basis. Right? So again, same thing. Okay, can we come down here a little bit lower? Can we get into the gold in here? That will confirm that this is now a completed impulse here. If we overlap this, we haven't done it yet, but double, kind of surprising if we hold that. So one more sweep down here. Seems a reasonable estimate. I'm looking for places to buy. Come on down. Okay, well, now you don't pick the turn. Same thing. Can we get a 5 out of here? Can we? All right. That's where I want to be a buyer. I don't think what I'm proposing is just pure hopium or bullish bullshit. Here's the low. Here's the high. We're retracing. What isn't that? Right? I mean, how long have you been trading? Right, that's what the market does. Now we do this. Okay, different story. Let's go over to the S's. They're a little ugly here. Let's start with Solana. I think Solana may be. Well, what I did was here, as just from this high, I just drew a volume profile here, and we're kind of stuck. Yeah, we got a little far below here, and swept some liquidity there. It looks to me like we might be shaping into a triangle. Now, a triangle is always hard to predict because you don't have it till you have it. This could certainly go lower, and we end up, we're down here, and then forget the DE. It's 1, 2. If we're going to hold here, right, we're going to have point of control. If we get a little bounce in crypto and major alts get a little bounce here, with this again just being logical here up to the upper edge of value. I mean, you can think of this. I mean, it's just auction market theory, right? Here's balance. A little above, a little below. Here's where the market's fat and happy, right? We have a balanced market here. Now, through price discovery, could we come lower? Sure. And rebalance. I mean, that's what the market does, right? It moves from balance, seeks new balance here. We get price discovery. Where do we get new balance? We get it up here. Same thing, right? You can just see this over and over here, right? This is what the market does. Balance, price discovery, balance. Nothing. Any other new sellers here? Nope. Oh, new balance. New balance. Any takers up here? Well, we better find some new balance. You can really simplify trading. I'm not saying it's easy. I never mean to imply that, right? There's no harder, easy money than trading. Right? Just get used to it. It's not easy. No one ever. If anyone told you it was easy, well, shame on you for listening to that. It's not easy. If you say, well, it's going to go up or it's going to go down, how hard can it be? Well, they've never traded then. Again, as I like to say, it's the hardest easy money you'll ever make, right? But in something like this, where we have, you may not be a crypto believer, but you're sticking your head in the sand, right? If you're not paying attention to what's happening behind the scenes with the macro picture, as the entire financial system digitizes, tokenizes, right? As we move, because and it's not like they're doing it just for fun. They're doing it for money, right? So it motivates everything and everyone because it's more efficient. There's less cost. That's the reason the banks are getting in now, because they don't want to miss the run. It would be hard to sustain a crypto bear. I guess leadership, right? Okay. So then the other thought is there's a lot of talk about money moving from gold as it's peaking here, and then getting ready to position into Bitcoin as gold is sold, and then Bitcoin gets purchased for what I would propose to you is the inevitable run of Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, SUI, the majors, which is why we're sticking with the majors here. Now, That's Solana. I don't think there's anything to do here. Let's go over to SUI. It's also a little funky, although again, if again, I think recalibrated here. Here's a clear impulse. There's an A. There's a B. Looks like we're doing a C. Could we go lower? Sure. What? Why the panic? Again, it's what the market does. Not sure I'm following why I see so much panic in my X feed and cross media, and well, of course, right. You know, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And if it's dumping, right, that'll get headlines. We've got some liquidity here. You could see that getting swept, right? We've got come down to the 50. Where do the wave twos usually go? Yeah, maybe I'm being too casual with this, right? I'm not doing anything here. I'm not getting out of anything. I'm looking to get in. Now it's up to you if you share that sentiment. Impulse. Correction. Impulse. Oh, what else do I have here? Give me a second here. All right, I'm going to finish it. We'll do Ripple and Cardano to finish up here. Now, it's kind of the same thing here. Where are we sitting, right? At the, a few bucks off the point of control. We've got a very large sideways consolidation. Certainly not unreasonable to look at this and go, well, at it, this distance sure looks like we've got a balanced range here. Push. Any interest up here? No. Any interest down here? No. We're right back in the middle. So why would you assume that we're coming lower? Why do you assume that? I don't know that you are, but it is amongst the bearish sentiment. Why so bearish? Right? What do you look at in the chart that gets you bearish? I just see balance. It's balance, not bearish. Everywhere I look, maybe it's me. Maybe it's my rose-colored glasses. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. Maybe a short one for me. Cardano, I always love to give you a trade if I can, right? Well, here's a monster. It couldn't be any lower risk here. With I think what we have here is 75 to 1. Now, of course, odds are likely it's so close. It would not be surprising if it gets stopped out here. But we off of this low here in the middle of the golden zone. I'm assuming you caught that bit. I bring this up here. As we sit in the middle of the golden zone, well, I've got a very clear invalidation point here is this low. If we sweep this low, okay, trades off, which is why you see my stop here is just below it. I get an impulse off the low, right? This is what we're waiting for in Bitcoin, ETH, everything else we just looked at. There's my impulse. To have the right look, yep. 4 overlap, couple of ticks. Again, I'm not such a purist that's gonna. I'm not gonna see that as a 5. A, B, or can we? No, you can do it probably a couple of different ways. Oh, here, let's just keep it simple. ABC. Now, do I know that's going to hold? Of course not. Is the risk reward worth it? Well, again, it's so little. Right? You don't have to buy, a lot of it. But if you wanted to, if you want to catch a turn here off of something with very low risk, with all I'm using is the algo target here off of this golden zone. It's not like I'm doing something radical in terms of a target. Again, let's get this off of there. It's buggy. 1 WXY golden zone. How many times have I shown that over the last 5.5, 6 years? 50, 60,000 times? Does that mean it's going to be different this time? Well, that's what a lot of people think. Right? So, it's going to be different this time. If I take the trade, it'll definitely get stopped out. You don't want to think that way, right? You really don't. Is it valid? Is there a reason, right? Is the risk reward there? Is it technical? Yeah. Yes. Now, if you take the trade and you get stopped out, don't send me hate comments. Right? It's your choice whether you're taking it or not. I'm just showing you that there's a very, very low risk, high reward trade there. And you don't need to, if you're uncomfortable with this price action here, you can see it's twice we've gone into where the algo is firing there. you can see that happening. Now, I'm on a daily here. You could wait and get a little bit more comfort here. We're one time framing down here, right? We haven't taken any highs. So, okay, you could, right, wait for something here and then take that, right? Because again, this is the thing about Elliott Wave I think that people miss, right? There are patterns here of price action here that if it's going to do something, these patterns are not optional. If this is going to go 1, 2, and we're going to get a 3, if, right? Did I say if? Heavy emphasis on if. If we're going to do it and get a third, the impulse here is not optional. It must come. It must come, or the analysis is incorrect. You're going to get an impulse here if that's a 1, 2. If it's a 1, 2. So you could look at this and say, well, I'm going to wait till it sweeps the 1. Because what would that be? That would be an internal little micro, change of character, break of structure, same difference. Well, pardon me, they're not quite the same difference here, but a change of character is a break of structure. This is a high, right? It didn't do anything. So here's the strong low down here. Well, the last low here, right? Here's the last swing that led to that low. Okay, we got to go up and break something here. You want to get a true change of character, right? You're going to have to get up here. Or that might be our break of structure, actually. Right? Because this is the high that led to that broke this, right? So, again, it's just basic market structure here. So there's your break of structure down, right? So this is really the significant high, but you don't have to wait for that to break, right? It's up to you, right? I'm on a daily. You go down to a 1 hour, right? You might see this a little bit differently. But if you're not comfortable here with this, and again, one tick, maybe give it 2, 3 ticks, right? You don't need to be right there because it may vary from exchange to exchange. You want to give it a little more room, go to the 65, right? You're still getting, look at the difference that makes. Right here, we get 70 to 1. If I take it to the 65, right? Oh shit, well, it's only 41 to 1. Loser would take that. Something to think about, right? So it's there, it's low risk, it's potentially perfectly valid if we hold. Right? So let's, just out of curiosity, let's go down to a 60, see what that looks like. There's your 3, 4, 5. That could roll over again. You could see a 1, 2, 3, 4, another sweep down here. Could get there. But this is where it invalidates, right? There is no rule accommodation here. We sweep that low. This cannot be a 1, right? That's the absolute. That's why this is, worth taking a look at, right? You can put your stop right there. So we'll come down, right? Now, if they get that close, odds they're going to get it pretty high. Why, right? You think there might be some liquidity here? Yeah, there's liquidity there. Something to think about. Okay, with that, I think, let's reduce some of the crypto panic here until when it's time to panic, I'll let you know. All right, guys. Oh shit, I should do this here. I always do this at the end when people are already signing off here. We do have a little holiday special. The Black Friday is going on here. If I can get this up here. So we're doing this for the whole month, right? So I'll put this under the video for those that missed it. I'm my worst marketer. I always do it at the end because I'm so focused on the TA. But this is running, everything's 50% off, right, for Black Friday. We're going to do Black Friday month, right? So for anyone interested in the belt system here, all of this, the complete bundle, that's your best value, right? If you want to learn this TA and work in our university and, develop some expertise in what we're teaching and be challenged, right? We don't just throw you in here and go, good luck, right? We're going to test you and coach you and, get you through so you have the skill set. All right, so that's running for the rest of the month. Okay, guys, with that, I'll wish you a good weekend, and we'll catch you next week.